we went on this journey for 6 years, followed these children suffering with pediatric cancer and their families that are desperate to find something to help alleviate the suffering. And it's powerful.
Welcome to Voices of Esalen. I'm Sam Stern. My guest today is the actress, talk show host, and documentary filmmaker Ricki Lake. Ricki recently visited us in Big Sur to take part in the Esalen Inspirational Film Festival, where she presented her film Weed the People, a documentary about the use of cannabis in the treatment of pediatric cancer. Together, we talked about what it was like to be discovered at the age of 18 in the film Hairspray, great advice that she got from her director in that film, John Waters, her 11-year stint on daytime television and what she learned from it, and how she came to produce documentary films, including the groundbreaking Business of Being Born. Ricki is funny, smart, honest, and very wise. Here's my conversation with Ricki Lake. Tell me a little bit about, I have so many questions for you, but let's start off with the occasion that brings you to Esalen today.
This time, so this I think is I was trying to figure out whether this is my fourth or fifth time at Esalen. And even though I've only taken one workshop here, I've come for the day. And a long time ago when I was staying at the Post Ranch Inn. But this time around, I'm bringing my documentary, Weed the People, to this community for the Esalen Inspirational Film Festival. Weed the People is a documentary that is near and dear to my heart, partially because of the subject matter. It's about children suffering from pediatric cancer and exploring cannabis as a plant that could help in their, not only in their dealing with the symptoms and side effects of chemotherapy, but also with tumor shrinkage. So the subject matter is obviously super important. And beyond that, this film was really the culmination of a passion from my beloved husband, Christian Evans, who passed away 2 years ago. So this was really his medicine. He was on really a path to kind of do his own research for his own healing and his grandfather's healing. So this is truly his legacy. And so for me to present it is loaded in a big way. It's bittersweet and it's super important to me.
Can you talk a little bit about the journey of making a documentary film, and in particular the journeys that you went on in making Weed the People? Well,
I have to start by talking about my first documentary called The Business of Being Born. That is, of all the projects, of all my 30 plus year career, it's the most personal. It's the most kind of the biggest sort of representation of me and my voice and the things I care about. And so it was a calling in making that film. And so that was my first venture in this genre. And I didn't know what I was doing. I hired my dear friend, Abby Epstein, to direct. She was a theater director who directed me in the Vagina Monologues off Broadway. And that's our history. That was our past. And she studied, theater directing. And she made one documentary called Until the Violence Stops, based on the V-Day movement. And so I just really just almost offhandedly offered her let's do this, and it stemmed from my profound birth experiences with my two sons. So that project took 3.5 years to make, all my own money. My birth footage is in the film, and so it was super personal. And so we put out that movie in 2008, and it's been now 11 years. And so, I mean, it's been revolutionary, for so many people, for so many practices and protocols and midwifery practices. And they teach an educational version at colleges and universities across the globe. And it's been the most fulfilling project that really stemmed from my own curiosity about why things are the way they are in that world, in the world of birth, and that normal birth is being taken away from women unbeknownst to them, and not for any good reason other than fear of malpractice and greed, and all those male patriarchy. The whole thing. What was really rewarding about that film is that I didn't expect the impact that it would have. It was really personal. It was just, I needed to do this project. I needed to step away from talk show, which I felt to be a lot of nonsense, not a lot of, weight to the subject matters that we were doing. So I wanted to do something that was meaningful to me. And so to see that it's meaningful for so many others has been really rewarding. And now with Weed the People, it's the same kind of thing. It's, again, why? Why is this plant, why has it been demonized and made a Schedule I drug. I mean, it is completely outrageous. And again, this wasn't the questions I was asking. I wasn't a big cannabis user. I wasn't really, active in the activist movement. It wasn't my thing. I was more into women's empowerment, bodies and birth and all that. And it was my husband, Christian, who was really tapped into this world. And so we went on this journey for 6 years, followed these children suffering with pediatric cancer and their families that are desperate to find something to help alleviate the suffering. And it's powerful. It's funny because both films, at the time, I didn't see the linear through line. I didn't really see the connection. And it's really about informed choice. The public really should be informed about cannabis and what it can do for just about any ailment. And we need to be deprogrammed, as to, what this medicine is and what it can do.
We watched The Business of Being Born several months ago, and one thing I really appreciated about it was your presence in the film. And are you also in Weed the People?
I am not in Weed the People, although I just was watching, because I have another film that we're finishing now called Sweetening the Pill, which takes on hormonal birth control. And that we've been working on for 4+ years. I mean, we did like a Kickstarter 4 years ago, and I'm in. So I just watched. So Abby's the director. Abby does all they're putting the movie together in New York with the editor, and I'm kind of seeing bits and pieces. So I just watched a little bit to present here at Esalen, and my voice is in it. I'm interviewing people about their experiences with birth control. So I wonder if that's going to end up, I guess it's going to end up in the film. But yeah, the business of being born was so personal. Weed the People, in the beginning, when we first started the making of the film, which was in 2012, with another child that's not in the final film, we were sort of more participant in front of the camera because we were going on this journey with this child that I'd met and fallen in love with. I'm not in this film, but at the end, we dedicate the film to Christian, so there's a tiny bit of footage of him with the baby Sophie.
So many people have seen The Business of Being Born, and they've seen you give birth on camera, as well as you sort of grew up in front of the camera, and so much of the attraction of the talk show that you did was sort of the audience can see the participants in the show through your perspective. What is it like to be known in that sense?
I mean, it's a really interesting level of fame that I have, that I appreciate so much, because I've been in this business since I'm 18 years old. I'm now 50 years old. So it's like 30+ years of being really active. I mean, I haven't stopped, and I've had all these different twists and turns and reinventing myself, and I love it all, But what's really interesting, so, whether it's like people I used to know, like Jennifer Aniston or Ellen DeGeneres, or like you can name all these people that I've known. I can't call them friends, but I know them, and they have this kind of unapproachable, maybe Ellen not so much, but I kind of think so. Like my friend has a theory. My friend Robin Roseanne says I was not born with the gene, that weird famous person gene, where they're like aloof and they're unapproachable, or they're just not really open. And I've always been an open book, and and I think I have another theory, and I'm sort of extrapolating from my thoughts at this moment, but like I'm thinking out loud. I was also the consummate my debut was with Hairspray with John Waters.
And you were 18.
I was 18. I was 200 pounds. And I was sort of the consummate underdog. And so I think becoming famous, like literally my character Tracy becomes famous and star of the dance. I became famous as Tracy.
Yeah.
So and thankfully people fell in love with me like they did my character. So I feel like there's like this, and then with my talk show, like I feel like there's this relatability, there's this likability, there's a trust. No one's threatened by me. I don't come off like Oprah thinking I know everything. And that's not a slam to her, but like she comes off like we want to know what Oprah knows because she knows everything. I'm the person trying to like figure it out with the people, like I'm sort of the every woman. And so I think and being in people's living rooms in most places twice a day, every day for 11 years.
What were the years that your talk show
ran? My
first
talk show was 93 to 2004. Mm-hmm. And then in places outside of the country, it played for even longer. Like in Israel, it played for many, many years. I mean, it's so weird to me that places I never visited. I've since gone to Israel, but like my show was as big as Oprah's there. I mean, it was crazy. Australia and Singapore and this. I mean, it's just yeah. When you just have to really think about it, it's really weird. It's like I love it. And these days, what I love is when people have been impacted by my documentary work. That's that's where it's like soul filling. And it's profound. Like women come up to me and they cry. I mean, it happens, I want to say daily. I mean, it happened the other day 4 times in a day of people coming up to me. I forget where we were. 4 different, I was at the farmer's market, of course. You've changed my life, like your film. Thank you. It's like they're so deeply grateful because that rite of passage of becoming a mother, when you can be respected and honored and tap into your goddess power, I mean, that opportunity is really, really rare and precious. And when, you have this tool that can help you achieve that, it does affect you in every part of your being.
Yeah. I mean, for listeners who haven't seen The Business of Being Born, what would be the number one thing that the reason which you would recommend the film for them?
I mean, for me, I think one of the most powerful things about the film is seeing these images of women giving birth in ways you can't even imagine. It's because we again, it goes back to cannabis. We've been programmed to think one thing about that it's a gateway drug and that it's, loco weed and I mean, all of these things that just like we've just grown up with. And same thing with birth, normal birth to me is not being numb from the waist down and detached from the experience. That's what we've come to, when you watch a baby story and you watch these shows on television, those are the images of women being saved by the hospital system and these emergencies waiting to happen. And thank God we saved the baby. I mean, it's like, no, those that happens. And there's risk in all of it. There's risk in getting pregnant, all of it. And so I think really seeing those images of those women, including my birth, which I never, ever, ever filmed it to show it to anybody. So it's really, it's still surreal to think about like, oh my God, I would have had better lighting, I would have worn a top and I would have removed the shampoo bottles behind my head. There would have been some like art direction happening if I knew it was going to end up in a film, but maybe that's part of the beauty of it. And that child is turning 18 in June. It's so freaking crazy. Yeah, I mean, I am forever healed. I mean, and we talk about a lot of this stuff in the film of what it does for a woman to give birth, naturally and in that way, and the oxytocin rush and all of that that you achieve. But also for me, I was a sexual abuse survivor, and I dealt with, body image, body loathing for so long. And I think I did a lot of healing, seeing what my body was able to do on its own terms. It was big.
That's super interesting. I'm a huge John Waters fan, and John, there's this quote, I think in one of his books, people gave him credit for discovering Ricki Lake, and he was like, no, that wasn't me. If it wasn't me who was going to come across, somebody would have.
My freshman year, I was a freshman at Ithaca College. I was a musical theater major. I was a failed musical theater major. In fact, they told me to quit. They told me that my voice and movement and my instructor said I didn't have any talent and that I'd never make it and to give up. And so I was there when I got the call about going to an open audition for a lead role in a John Waters movie. They were looking for a fat girl who could dance. And I was like, okay, the fat part I definitely got, and the dancing I think I could pass, and I got nothing else better to do. So I drove down. It was a 5-hour commitment each way to go from Ithaca to meet with John. I met with him. I was wearing a big Ithaca College sweatshirt. I was a circle basically. I had tits out to here, and he was trying to figure out if I was padding myself and stuff, and I was like, it's all me, having that be my first film, my first role, my first, opened every door, but having him as a mentor and he gave me advice that I've talked about before, but I'll tell you, he sat me down before the movie came out because it was such a surreal experience. I didn't even process that I was the lead in the movie. I was working so hard every day and I didn't even put it all together. And that's sort of how I've been throughout my career. I don't think about the after, like the impact that the business being born would have. I don't think it through that way. I just feel like this calling to do it or this job that I'm hired to do, and I just do it. My talk show, I did it for the $5,000 pilot money. I never saw that it was actually going to be a hit and last as long as it did. So John sat me down like right before Hairspray was coming out, and he said, I want to talk to you. And I said, all right. And he said, I have, your life is about to change, and I want to offer you some advice. And he said, number 1, always stay humble. Number 2, always stay true to yourself. And 3, if you're going to read and believe the good things people say about you, you're going to have to read and believe the bad. So, that was pre-internet, pre-everything. But yeah, those are the things. And it's managed to keep me, I think, grounded and keep me true to myself all these years in this crazy business.
What was it like to do 11 years of talk show? Like, what was your life like when you were doing that?
It was the best. I mean,
What are
it
your
was,
hours?
My hours were so dope. Okay. It was 3 days a week, 2 shows a day on average. Sometimes we did 3 shows a day. We worked up later on, but like it was basically Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We do like a 4 o'clock show and a 6 o'clock show. And I'd come to work around 11:30, 12. I had a nursery for my child. I had an assistant. I had the hair and makeup. I had the stylist. I had like my whole team, which was like super fun. I was really good at my job. Like I was really a machine, and I would do my like preparation like that. Like it just became second nature to me. And I could usually tell just by the names, I could tell what that family is going to look like, whether they're going to be African-American, whether they're going to be Latino, whether they're going to be, there was definitely like a type of outspoken person that we'd have on the show. And the most dynamic story and characters would be in the top of the show. And so I could do it to time. Like I had such a system in place I recognize that it's not an easy job to do. Not everybody can do it. There were like 50 talk shows that came and went while I was on the air. What I was a really good listener.
Yeah.
You know, I really had compassion and curiosity for people and relationships. So there was like a natural interest, even though it was very formulaic. I was really open about my own experiences. I was really good at moving the story along and taking time cues. And because I didn't use an IFB. One of the things.
What's an IFB?
IFB is the earpiece that connects you to the control room. Mm-hmm. So they can feed you questions. They can tell you things in your ear. I detested that because I didn't want anybody taking me off focus, and I didn't want anybody telling me what to say or do. So I refused, and it was like a big bone of contention with my executive producer at the time for a while. But because it's rare, most people do have an earpiece, and I would take time cues from my stage manager. So she and I would like have to lock eyes all the time because I'm listening and asking a question, and I'm how many minutes left. But I was really good at it. It was an hour.
And would you shoot an hour? Or?
I did it to time. Very rarely did we go over, unless it was like a pageant show that things it wasn't. And sometimes we did live, like seasons 2 and 3 and 4. There were episodes we did live, which was amazing with
the studio audience.
Well, it was always with a studio audience, but we do actual live show for the 5 o'clock hour, and it was so. It was, there's nothing like it.
I mean, it sounds like theater, plus it has sort of like a...
Anything can happen. Uh-huh. And there's like an energy, and it's New York anyway. So it's all these... And our show in the heyday was like, there was like a year waiting list to get tickets. It was like, the show to come see. So it was amazing, and I loved it. And ultimately, I'm so grateful I had the platform that I did. I feel like I learned so much about humanity. I think I grew as a person, but ultimately, like looking back on it, I didn't have a clue who I was and what I believed in, or where, like what my voice was, It's like my name was on the rug, and I wasn't at my optimum best self until later years.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool because I think about it that time. So you're the 90s, basically. You're the bridge. The 80s was ruled by the Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, Oprah, of course. And then
young people. We were the voice for young people. And that was a totally conscious effort on the creator and executive producer, Garth Anseer. So when he was searching for the new host this is in 92 when we did the pilot, and I was one of 100 women. So he wanted someone younger. He looked at the numbers, like the demos for Oprah, Phil, and Sally were all over 50. So he wanted to do that 18 to 34, 18 to 49 target audience. So it was hiring someone young. And so when they picked me, and they picked, I don't know, I know why they picked me. I was really charismatic in the meeting. I flirted with 3 gay guys. Whatever. I was right for the part, just like Tracy. But they took a huge risk, and it just was like an overnight. It was literally overnight. We launched on September 13th, 1993, the same day as Conan O'Brien launched his show. Wow. Yeah. And we just like threw the ratings just like every week. They gave me a bonus after the first season. I never really have talked about this publicly, but it was like a bonus of like $500,000. It was like... Holy shit, I was 24 years old. I was like, what? Oh my God. I'm like, I'm the richest friend. It was crazy. They bought me diamond earrings for my birthday. It was like all your dreams coming true. And it was just my life, and I met my first husband right after I went on the air. I fell madly in love. I was, it was just like, it was an amazing, amazing time. And yet my life has been so much more amazing since that show, the life I've gotten to live. And I've had severe traumas. I mean, major, major, major trauma that I still am healing from and will for the rest of my life. But my God, my career has given me so much, joy and success and ups and downs.
You've been able to succeed in very different arenas. I mean, you've been a feature film actress, and then you worked in television as a talk show host, and now you've become a kind of a powerhouse producer of documentary film. Tell me about Dancing with the Stars. What was that like to be on there?
It was incredible.
I didn't see that.
It was incredible. Yeah. I was incredible. It was amazing. Derek Hough is a freaking genius. He is up there with John Waters, and I'm not saying that lightly. He is a master as a teacher, as a choreographer, as a visionary. He is a storyteller. I was blown away by him, and he was really hard on me. He was really, really challenging. He was very mean, and it was like a mind. He would tell me how terrible I would go home every night crying to my husband because he would say, you're terrible, and then I would nail it. Like the day, like he would get the best performance out of me by like knocking me down.
Did you go deep on that show?
Oh, I got third, and technically I got the highest scores of my season. Uh-huh. But the guy who won was like a war hero veteran, like literally like a scarred burn victim war hero. So he had to win. Like I would have lost by winning, right. Truthfully. Yeah, totally. So I won by losing. And he was great. His name was JR, and he was awesome. And Rob Kardashian got second because he had all the Twitter followers. And yeah, he was a nice guy too. I mean, I had said no to Dancing with the Stars for 9 years. The same person, my friend Dina Katz, who became friends, she's a producer on the show, and she would ask me every year. And I was like, no. Especially after Charm School, I'm not doing another reality show. There's no way. And I ended up saying yes because I was going back on the air with a new talk show. And so it made sense. Like it was a strategic move, but it ended up being one of the greatest experiences. It was so hard dancing for 7 days a week for 3.5 months. I was a mess. But I learned to become an amazing ballroom dance. I mean, I learned ballroom dance. It was incredible.
You must have got in incredible shape.
I got in incredible shape. I lost about 25 pounds.
That's been fun.
It was fun, and it was hard, and it was thrilling because it was live 2 nights a week, Monday and Tuesday. It was amazing. And I have such a respect for the way they produce that show. Because now having been a host of a different, I'm a producer, and I see it's incredible what they pull off.
Why do you say that? Like, is the level of difficulty really, really high for a show like that?
The amount that goes into just all the stuff happening, just the choreography, just catching like the cameras. I mean, there's a million cameras. It's like it's one of the most amazing productions I've ever witnessed. It's incredible, and the talent that's on that stage, and then you're telling a story. Like it's not just like these professional dancers. There's that, but there's also these contestants who are all sort of famous. We're not, we're sort of B celebrities for the most part, but and you become like a family, and you're spending all this time together, and it's really, it's just. It was amazing, and I ended up giving the money away that I made. Most of it I gave to my nanny's charity. She has a school for AIDS orphans in Malawi, so I felt like I was being of service, and we did. Yeah, it was incredible.
So, what animates you these days? I mean, obviously you're quite busy producing documentaries. Are there other parts of the show business model that you're engaged in that really kind of juices you up?
I feel like I have a really good balance in my life right now. I mean, I lost my husband 2 years. February was 2 years ago. And to mental illness and death by suicide, and that just brought me to my. I've never gone to a darker place. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry you didn't get to meet him, but your wife got to know him a little bit, and he was extraordinary. And he's the one who really opened up my kind of path to plant medicine and psychedelics, and he brought me to Ibiza when we first met and fell in love, and that place is really a magical, not unlike Big Sur to me. I mean, it's a much bigger island, but it's very conscious. What I find, the north of the island, I'm not talking about the party scene, there's totally that, and that's a lot of fun, but I prefer like the north and the people that find their way there and live there. They're so just extraordinary and international, and just they figured out the key to life, basically. Ultimately, he couldn't be saved. He was bipolar and struggled tremendously. But I so feel that I now am like the vessel, and I don't have the answers. I don't know, but I'm learning and I'm curious, and I love that I get to make these documentaries that really do question the status quo and, get people educated so that they can advocate for themselves when it comes to their health and their bodies and their babies. And I love that I get to go to Burning Man. I love that it's like, these are things I'm discovering now, I wouldn't really change a thing, I think, and I have new love in my life, and, I'm just very grateful for the abundance and just all of it.
Just in terms of the state of cannabis today, do you feel optimistic about the potential for people who are suffering to be able to use cannabis in a legal manner in the United States? Yes,
I'm extremely optimistic, and partly, and I'm not an expert. I'm not even a real advocate. I am by making this film, but I'm not someone that can spew off numbers. But just since starting the film in 2012, the number of states that have gone legal medicinally, we're now up to 33. We brought the film to Oklahoma 2 weeks before the referendum on medicinal cannabis, and they showed the film on loop, like for everyone to see. And it passed by 58% in what is, I'd say, one of the most conservative states in the country. I do see major changes. I also think there's so many issues tied to this, the reparations, there's so much that needs to be undone. Obviously, it needs to be descheduled. Our film is really not about that. It's complicated because, yes, it should be available to anyone who needs it for whatever they need it for. That is my belief. I believe it is a plant that you should be able to grow in your backyard if you choose to. You can raw juice the leaf, just like kale. There's no psychoactive effect. That should be a part of our daily maintenance, I believe, in my humble opinion, But the whole recreational versus medicinal, I think, the recreational has really done a disservice in California for the medicinal patients. It's really two very separate issues. And California is amazing. Actually, I should take that back for the most part, because California is one of the best places to be able to get access to this medicine. But it's confusing. Dosing is really challenging. There's not enough doctors. It's like so much needs to happen. But I do think our film is a really good tool. And it's, following children for 5.5 years and seeing, you're going to see it in a little bit, but it's really important. Just like seeing those images of those women giving birth in bathtubs and whatever, it's important for people to see and just at least question, why is this not available to all of us?
What's your advice for young documentary film or beginning documentary filmmakers who are kind of like just starting off on their craft?
I don't know. I don't know what I'd say. It's like, I think you need to find what you're passionate about and be relentless with it. I had to make The Business of Being Born. I didn't know what it was going to look like, because that was sort of Abby's vision to come up with. And it was also the experience, a documentary. What I love, there's no script. There's no, you kind of have a point of view, but you really have to go where it leads you, And that's part of the mystery and the beauty of the genre. But it's trusting the process, but I think first and foremost, you need to find your voice and your passion.
What's one of your secret superpowers? What's something that you're really good at, Ricki Lake, that not that many people know?
I'm an excellent driver.
Are you?
I'm an excellent driver. And it's like part of me is like the inner control freak that I am. And I'm not like someone who, I don't care about cars. Like, I'm not a car person. I don't drive super fast, but I'm in like a New York aggressive driver. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm really good at that. I'm super, it's like it's a little off topic, but Christian, my beloved, I think one of the major gifts he gave me is that he really, I now love myself the way he loved me. And I really value myself the way he did. 'Cause he really loved me unconditionally. And so the things I do, the time I spend with people now, the relationship I'm in now, it's like, I'm never going to compromise anything, I'm choosing someone who deserves me, and So yeah, it's like I've learned so much about love through loving Christian, living with Christian in his illness and ultimately losing him.
Ricki Lake, where can we see the film Weed the People?
It's on iTunes and Amazon, and it'll be on Netflix. I think May 17th it drops on Netflix.
All right, well, we got to go watch your film. Thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, Sam. Thanks for talking.
Thank you for listening to Voices of Esalen. Today's show is produced in conjunction with Cheryl Frenzel, Geraldine Hess, Lori Putnam, Shannon Hudson, and Ian Golden. Our music is by Nico Holloman. If you'd like to hear more episodes, please find us on iTunes. And if you like what you're hearing, take a second to subscribe, rate us, and review. You can also find all of our episodes at our website, esalen.org. That's ESALEN.org. The Esalen Institute is a nonprofit organization. Programs like this one are made possible by the support of our donors. Thank you so much for your contributions to our world.